Hello, my name is John Rose, and in this video I'd like to take a closer look at how an idea becomes a belief. Well, the easiest way to understand this is to think of an idea as a tabletop without any legs. I'm sure many of y'all have heard this analogy before. It's a perfect analogy to illustrate how an idea becomes a belief, and then how the people who rule the world know that, and they bombard our brains with bullshit, giving our brains so many references that support bullshit ideas, so it becomes part of our false knowledge. And I'll show you how important that is, because we cannot learn anything when we think we already know. When we're confronted with ideas that are in conflict with our references, we think we already know. We don't need to look at the other side. So what happens in most cases, if people try to tell you about a raw vegan diet, what do? I've heard that idea before. I never heard the idea before. I don't see that tabletop. I've seen that tabletop before. It doesn't have any references, man. You see? This is what's getting us in trouble. We have way too many references that support the belief, the false belief, that cooking's an art. We have far too many references that make us not understand what really happened in the last century. And if we don't understand history, it's going to repeat itself. We don't understand what happened with the pandemic. We don't understand how the First World War happened and the Second World War. We've been bombarded by garbage so that we have so many references in those areas that we don't look at the truth. And how is that done? It's simple. When you control the present, you control the past. Don't you see? When this happens, you can brainwash everybody and create all these references to have people think the way you want to have them think. When you control what people know, you control what they do. You control the information they look into. You see, you got a tabletop as an idea. All of those references we have are the legs to the tabletop. And most of our false beliefs have so many references, so many legs, it's like there's nothing but legs underneath that tabletop. There's no way you can tip it over. There's only one way to challenge that many references. As I said over and over and over, that's why I say we have to have a brand new reference. That's where the first of my three-step process begins. By allowing us to challenge these old references about what our ideal diet is. And remember, our ideal diet does not satisfy all of our nutritional needs, because we've damaged ourselves and society and the environment. Now we have another group of needs. But we still have to respect our anatomical limitations. We have a species-specific diet just like every other creature on this planet. We have to adhere to that, but we can't because we're addicted to the wrong food. We have way too many references that cooking is an art, and we don't even understand we're basically slaves. Most of us have a slave mentality. We don't understand the master-slave mentality. And this reminds me of that great speech Martin Luther King gave within a short period of time before they killed him. He knew they were coming after him. They knew they would be successful. And he tried to tell his people, he warned his people, be aware of what's going to happen. The people ruling the world, they've been doing it for a long time. They're using the same strategy, control history so we don't know what's going on, but they're psychopaths and their MO is always divide and conquer. So what he told his people in the speech, and you can listen to this, he warned his people, said, look, when I'm gone, the people who are in control are going to use an old favorite formula of the pharaohs, because the pharaoh knew how to keep the slaves enslaved. It's to get them to fight amongst themselves, divide and conquer, create chaos. That's why I won't put up with bullshit comments on my channel, because that's what it's all about. It's all about being distracted. It's all about looking at details and things we don't need to know about. I am the first to admit I haven't gotten all the bullshit out of my brain, and I'm never convinced that any story I've ever heard that it's complete truth. I'm willing to throw it out in a flash. But I also realize it's not important. I know there are a lot of layers to this onion. I know when you look at the man behind the curtain, there's another curtain, another curtain, another curtain. Who knows? And I don't care. And it doesn't matter. And you see, this is how we're getting distracted. This is why I'm deleting some of your comments, because you're falling for this trap to get distracted. To look at who's doing it. Who cares? It doesn't matter who does it. It matters what they do. We got to correct what they've done downstream. When we go upstream and get reconnected, that part of our behavior won't exist anymore. That's how we defeat this aspect of us, is we get reconnected. So there's an upstream solution and a downstream solution, but what's keeping us where we are all the references that support ideas that are wrong. So let's take a quick look at how we can look at our belief system. And I'm going to start off by using Einstein's circle of known, and then I'm going to modify that and show you how that fits into a special teaching tool that I created that uses knowledge in a way that's never been seen before. You guys got to watch the ultimate schematic. We can use this tool for everything in your business, everything like that. People use it within days. They go, I finally solved my problem because I was in the wrong box. Didn't know where I needed to be. So this will all tie together, but let's start with Einstein's circle of known. Now, I've already done a video on this. Some of y'all may have seen it. And I've mentioned this before, but I'm going to go over it one more time. What we have when it comes to knowledge is, think of it as one big box. And every one of us has circles inside the box. The box represents all the knowledge everywhere, and we got a circle inside of it. And everything outside of our circle is what we don't know, we don't know. It's our ignorance. We don't know anything about it. We don't even know what's out there. And we all have different sized circles. And a lot of our circles are overlapping. So we have common beliefs, especially common false beliefs, because the people who rule the world want us to think a certain way. And all they have to do is feed us lies, bombard our brains with bullshit on a daily basis over and over and over. And what we do is we develop these beliefs without even looking into it, without even thinking about it. We just got a lot of references, that's all we got. And now we have false knowledge in place of the knowledge we need. And we can't learn anything when we think we already know. So I'm going to come back to show you how false knowledge is the main thing that's getting us in trouble. And why the first step is to open up and admit that we might have some false knowledge. And I'll come into that also. But let's go back to Einstein's circle of known. We got these circles inside this box of knowledge. And then we have these two forms, or we have one form of ignorance now, where we don't know. But then we have a line that forms a circle inside this box. And it represents the interface between what we know inside of our circle and what we don't know outside of our circle. And this is the ignorance that we know we don't know. And this illustrates what's known as the Socratic irony. The more you know you don't know. So think about it. The line that forms a circle, if you got a little bitty circle, that's not a very big line, is it? Make the circle real big, and what happens, that line is real big. Oh my God, look how much I know I don't know. Didn't know I didn't know about this. Didn't know I didn't know about this. That helps us get out there and find the knowledge we need. Now, what I've done is I've taken the knowledge that we need and I put it in a circle with a dotted line outside of that circle. The ultimate schematic I have up right now is not my newest version. I've updated that quite a bit to show where this is at. It's going to be labeled piece number 1, the knowledge we need, a circle with a dotted line. And it has a circle with a dotted line because it's outside of our circle now because we lost it. It's hidden knowledge in our traditions. And it's in a dotted line because it used to be inside of our circle. For 99% of our existence, we knew not to make this mistake. But this is why we lost our golden ages, this is why we are in the dark ages now. Is because we lost this knowledge of how to live. So, this is the knowledge we need, and it's outside of our circle. It's not in there. And the problem now is that we also have another box in addition to Einstein's circle of known. And I can illustrate this in my special teaching tool. It uses what I call 3 stages of knowledge, and that's not to be confused with what Schopenhauer said there are 3 steps to truth. Where first it's ridiculed, then it's violently opposed, we see where a lot of beliefs are at, and then it's finally accepted as self-evident. But no, these are 3 stages of knowledge, where knowledge is first acquired in the first stage, applied in the second, manifested in the third. So we have acquired, applied, manifested. Think of these 3 stages as thoughts and actions and reactions. Beliefs, causes, and effects. Let's pause for a second. Cause, effect, action, reaction. Ordered pairs, one comes before the other. This was my first quadrant system I created, the cause and effect, pleasure and pain quadrant system. So what I did is I added Einstein's circle of known to it, because when we go back to the first stage of knowledge, where we have our belief system, and the second stage where we have our lifestyle choices, and the third stage where we have our feedback system, it's the things we think in the first stage of knowledge, the things we do or have done to us in the second stage of knowledge, and then the things we get or manifested in the third stage of knowledge. So let's go back one more time. If we look at what we got, or if we look at Einstein's circle of known in the plus A box of knowledge, again, the first stage of knowledge, there's a right path and a wrong path. We have knowledge, right actions, we satisfy all of our needs, and we end up in paradise, which is a place where we don't have any problems because we're not making mistakes. But then, on the bottom half, we have false knowledge in the first stage. That's how we start our journey off in life, by the way, through our traditions. Our parents teach us the same mistakes that they were taught, and that's what allows us to make mistakes. And then we have hundreds of thousands of problems that are 100% within control. So the problem with our belief system is that most of us don't know it's inaccurate. Most of us don't know we have false knowledge in place of the knowledge we need in the first stage of knowledge. Most of us don't know we're making mistakes that are causing most of our problems in the second stage of knowledge. And that means that most of us don't know that most of our problems are 100% within our control. Why? Because we've got all these beliefs. When you get sick, ask your doctor. Ask your doctor. Pay attention to what I'm saying now. Watch TV and you'll see drug commercials. Ask your doctor, ask your doctor, ask your doctor. Reference, 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 reference. What do you do when you get sick? Oh, reference, reference, reference. I've never thought about it, but I know what to do. I've been programmed to think this way and not think this way. Don't look over here, look over here. You see how we're being tricked and fooled. So the problem that happens when we have this false knowledge, which is now represented in the negative A box of false knowledge, what we have down there is a big box of false knowledge, and we all got circles down there too. So now our belief system is the circle in the box of false knowledge and the circle inside the box of knowledge. The plus A box of knowledge is a negative A box of false knowledge. What happens with false knowledge is we superimpose it into our circle and we think it belongs in there. So when the circle with a dotted line, with a 1 in it, tries to come into us saying we should eat a raw vegan diet, what happens? Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. That's false knowledge because it's outside my circle. Everything outside my circle is in the box of false knowledge. But see, if we didn't know that, if we weren't lied to, then we think, well, maybe it's outside our circle, but it's outside where we need to look. Don't you see? It's outside of our circle, inside the box of knowledge. But no, we don't do that because we have false knowledge superimposed into our belief system. We automatically think the truth is down there as false knowledge. Don't need to look at it. But the reality of it is it's the false knowledge that doesn't allow us to find the knowledge we need. You see what I'm saying here? So what we have is the plus A box of knowledge. That's where we need to be. There's a circle with a dotted line. It used to be inside of our circle. It's the lost knowledge, the hidden knowledge that comes when our ancestors made a mistake a long time ago. We don't know how it happened. We can only conjecture. It doesn't matter. They made the mistake, and what happened? They fell in love with it. They got addicted to it. They ran into denial. That's the only way they could have made the stupid mistake to pass it on down to the children. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm in denial. Here, child, here, eat some cooked food. Oh, why are you sick? Oh, we don't know. The cooked food. No, no, no. Don't you see how this works? So we've been doing this for 3,000 generations. We've been passing down this same horrible mistake generation after generation. It's the worst form of child abuse on this planet. We got to stop it immediately. We need to establish a day and say, okay, as of this day, every child born has to maintain a minimal biophoton level. They got to eat a certain percentage of raw food. I don't know if it's 100%. I'm not even advocating that. I don't know. It only makes sense not to ruin our food. And I have no idea how that transition is going to work. But what I do know is things aren't going to change unless we reach the tipping point. We got to get a lot of people that are stuck in this negative A box of false knowledge and go through that first doorway, the first of 2 doorways we have to go through to get back into paradise. And this is illustrated in my 6-box system that I call the ultimate schematic. You can watch my video down below in the description box. So we got to go through a doorway, but there are problems of knowledge in there. There are 21 main problems of knowledge, 2 forms of ignorance, the knowledge that's outside of our circle in the plus A box of knowledge. Remember, it's a 1 with a dotted line around it, and then we got the false knowledge in the box below. So now we actually have 3 forms of ignorance. 2 of them we don't know. We don't know we got the false knowledge. We don't know what's outside of our circle. And then we also know we don't know if we're on the line that forms the circle. So we got to become the line that forms the circle, get out there and go looking for something that's going to challenge our belief system. Don't you see? That's why we can't solve our problems, because we're not letting it in. You got to be willing to admit you have false knowledge. That's our biggest problem. So when you find people who know about what to eat, and when you find people who know about the psychopaths who rule the world, what do both of them do? They scream, false knowledge, piece number 2, false knowledge, piece number 2. All you got to know is know about it. And that's the mistake that you guys are making who understand there's evil at work. Doesn't matter who it is. The solution isn't identify them, let everybody know about it. No, that's not the solution, no. The solution is let's find what they're doing and let's do something about it. You see, controlled opposition doesn't care what we know, it cares what we do. We got to stop wasting our time and getting distracted. We got to stop looking at that damn onion and looking at the layers. I deleted your post for a reason, man. You don't know what I know. You're not connecting dots that I have. I have more pieces than you. And I've been given a gift to connect the dots. I was destined to do this. When I was told I had this gift in 8th grade, I immediately asked myself, why have I been given this gift? I immediately answered myself and never thought of anything else but this answer. I'm given this gift to make a difference, to help people. I didn't think for 1 minute I was going to use it for me. I don't know why I thought that. I guess maybe my mom was super great. Or maybe it's my soul, I don't know. But I have a passion to share what I've learned, a passion to use my gift to make things that appear complicated that are simple. I created a map, 2 maps in one. I've identified 281 pieces that all logically connect. And we don't want to spend too much time on what I call piece number 3. We don't need to know who they are. Let's not go down that rabbit hole, buddy. You see, we always got to go back and leave the big picture and make sure, are we getting reconnected? If we're not getting reconnected, everything's a distraction. If we're getting reconnected, what downstream work do we have to do? Don't worry about who does what. Worry about what they've done and how to correct that. Sweep up the trash. Begin by getting rid of this debt-based currency. It's made us slaves. Remember what the very first vice president of America said that became the second president, John Adams. There are 2 ways to conquer and enslave a nation. One is by the sword, the other is by debt. We are debt slaves. We don't understand that because we've got the slave mentality. We can't think like masters. Well, I can, and partly because I've been self-employed most of my adult life, 98% or more probably, whatever that number is, I don't know. But I understand. I have an employer mentality versus an employee mentality. I started off in the boring world of business consultations, and I got to understand the difference between an employer and employee because I worked with the employers, and I can understand why the employees think the way they do. So most of us can't understand the employee-employer mentality. Most people have an employee mentality. I see it all the time. And this extrapolates to the same thing with a slave and master mentality. But the thing is, it's not hard to think like the employer. It's not hard to think like the master. All you got to do is control these people, keep them distracted, divide and conquer. Send trolls and shields to YouTube channels like mine and create chaos. Divert the subject and let's go down some rabbit hole. I'm not going to allow that, my friends. And it is an important, and yeah, it's worth talking and everything, but let's do it somewhere else. What I want on my channel is for people to come here and be a trim tab. Get everyone to wake everyone's attention up. So why I want people to come to my website or to my YouTube channel. I want to see nothing but great comments about people doing the first of my 3-step process and sharing their experiences. This is really all I want. I may delete a whole lot of stuff that I don't want to see because I don't want a bunch of garbage filtered in what people need to see. Don't you understand? I understand how important this is. We all play a role. And there are people who don't want us to know this. They've gone out of their way to bombard our brains with bullshit so that we don't consider that we live on an abundant planet. This is one of the most important lies that they have to instill in us. We are instilled in the false belief of scarcity, the illusion of scarcity. That's an illusion. We live on an extremely abundant planet, my friends. But we're so disconnected, we have the wrong mentality. That's why people just don't understand how important it is to bump up those biophotons. And thank you for my trim tabs on this channel, for adding great videos like I got this morning. I watched that this morning. We need more videos where Dr. Fritz Albert Popp is explaining what biophotons are. This is how we're being controlled. In fact, I have enough knowledge right now that if I had the technology, I could go around, I could rule the universe. I just have to go to some place that's developing, and if they haven't discovered fire yet, I'd teach them fire. If they already have fire, I'd go down and give them some cookbooks. What happens? They become disconnected. They become chaotic. They don't have communication. See, that's what biophotons are all about. Biophotons are how cells communicate. And without communication, what do you got? It's chaos. That's what we got. We're out of control. Now we need someone to help us. See, this is the problem, reaction, solution all over again. We're already out of control, so the sickest of us are exploiting the sickness in man. One of the biggest problems that we have is that we are sick and disconnected. It's a big piece of the puzzle we need to understand. It's the biggest obstacle we have. We got to change ourselves. That's why we need to change the condition of what we got. That's why we got to have a brand new reference that will challenge all of our beliefs in one area. And what we have to understand is if the people who rule the world can get us to believe in absurdities, we'll commit atrocities. if they can get us to take what was one of the greatest men of last century and turn him into the absolute worst and get us to believe in something that didn't even happen, think about what that implies. When it comes to this knowledge, we don't know 1/10 of it. Not 1/10. And yet, because we have so many references, we don't even look at the other side. And when you look at the other side, it's so obvious. But we don't do that. Why? Because we have false knowledge superimposed into our circle. So what we have to do is we got to expand our circle. We got to put some knowledge in there so we can apply it. And that's the second doorway we need to go through. And that's one of the things I say that we're unwilling to do. We're unwilling to apply what we know. But the greatest thing about what I've discovered by thinking about this all the time is we don't have to know something to apply it. We can test an idea whose time has come. There's something stronger than all the armies in the world, because it changes our mentality that creates the mindset that we're going to have armies. And I can guarantee you, my friends, if you have an adequate biophoton level, you're not going to join the Progerian class. You're not going to be a cog in the wheel. You're not going to be a shill or a troll. And you won't even be a useful idiot, because you're going to get the connection. And I guarantee you, when you get connected, you're in for a treat.